My class has completed a 3-week reading exercise on water scarcity across the globe. And this reading brochure included a variety of very challenging, complex articles full of data. We had global experts talking about water scarcity. We looked at tons of graphics put out by U.S. Department of Agriculture, by all sorts of national and international agencies that help people get water, help people maintain their health, the CDC, etc. And the students were engaged in some pretty challenging reading and discussion each day in class for 9 days. And at the end of the 9 days, I wanted them to figure out a way to articulate one of the problems with water scarcity, and then I wanted them to come up with 3 columns of either facts or cause and effects or problems and solutions, something that they had learned that was able to be demonstrated either graphically or with words or in their own terms what it meant for them. And then the final part of the graphic is a so, what is the conclusion? And the really wonderful thing about water scarcity is that a lot of people think it's just an African problem, or, it's based on, global warming only. Well, what the students learned was much bigger than that. So I'm looking at one sample from a student, and I want to do a think aloud on this sample. So I'm going to begin. The problem is water scarcity might cause anarchy or war. In 30 years, now we have a pie chart. In 30 years, the pie chart shows that 58% of people will have 1 month without water in the globe. And that actually turned out to be 2050. And I remember in our class that a lot of people were sort of, well, that's not a big problem, I'll probably be dead. And then we did the math, and they realized that everybody, including the instructor, will still be here in 2050, and that for us to live for 1 month without water was going to have an impact on our daily lives. And it's not a story in Africa, the student writes. It has already started all over the world. And so below these words, all over the world, exclamation point, the student has drawn some continents with a yellow warning sign with an exclamation point. And this looks to me like the red spots on the continents indeed are the exact places where there already are today in 2018 issues with water scarcity. That's genius how it was put together in like a puzzle with the warning sign below. In the middle column, I see 2 people holding water on their heads with a blue arrow going down to someone crying. And that's really interesting because water scarcity deprives opportunities to study, and people fight for pure water instead of oil. Oh, that's interesting. War or anarchy. So the student is making the connection that water is going to become the next century's oil, and that people are going to fight over water like they fought over oil. Isn't that interesting? I think that's very poignant and a very keen conclusion to draw from some of the readings that we did in the classroom. So in the third column, I see the only solution is ... There's a brown hand shaking a beige hand. And I love that because this is a global issue. It's not just one country's issue. Discuss and cooperate to survive with each other. Think globally, act locally. So one of the things that we talked about was that in the United States, People on the average use 158 gallons of water a day, where people in other sections of the world only get 13. So there was a lot of discussion about wasting water, using what we have in our reservoirs and aquifers, and why we have water shortages. So the concluding statement that the student made is, so we must take the problem as our problem, not their problem. Now, in looking at this Think Aloud, stepping back, I would say that the student met the outcome, which was to articulate 3 ways or 3 ideas or 3 concepts about what this student learned about water scarcity. I'm not worried about the misspelled word problem. I know the linguistic background of the individual who made this, and there's often a confusion between R and L sounds, and so I understand it. So I don't worry about that when I'm scoring this across a rubric. This student would receive a full score because of the complexity of the ideas presented on the 3 columns, the problem statement and the concluding statement.